Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Wednesday weather update recorded on February the 21st. And we've got a big high smack bang over the top of New Zealand at the moment. Light winds in many places. This is again the UV map. And what you might have noticed for those who watch this every time I show it, which is not that often, I probably should use it more often, is how the blob of purple, which is showing the extreme UV rays, is moving northwards. It's heading back up towards the equator at the top here. And so when we were back in December around Christmas time, of course, this was right further down over the South Island as well. So what is happening? Well, it's the days getting shorter, and basically the sun shine heading further up towards the northern hemisphere. And so that means we're starting to see shorter days, which you might have noticed in the mornings in particular. But that also means that our UV rays start to drop. But the areas in purple, which is still a big chunk of the North Island and some parts of the south, still in that extreme zone. But obviously the further down you go, the lower it is. So we're probably noticing the UV rays starting to taper off a lot more in the coming few weeks. But it's still, as I say, it's still extreme in a number of places. Let's have a look at the setup as we go into Wednesday evening. This is where the high pressure zone is, fair bit of cloud out at sea. Now I'll animate it for the next 48 hours and it moves across the country with a few showers around that northeastern corner. We end here on Friday evening and you've got a warm subtropical flow coming down across the country. So we're ending the week on a warmer note. So what does that mean rain-wise? Well, most of it is up here in Bay of Plenty, falling around Te Puke, Makatu, places like that. Not a huge amount of rain. There's around about 15 to 25 millimetres in that Bay of Plenty region, and it's slowly drifting towards Coromandel Peninsula. There'll also be a few showers that form across the day around Central Plateau, further down around the ranges as well, but just a couple of showers around the west coast. Most places are dry. Let's have a look at Thursday. So you can see that area of wet weather. It is drifting very slowly towards the Coromandel. It's not exactly a huge amount of rain. It's just sort of stuck in there. And worth looking at the rain radar on the day itself because it is going to move around just a little bit. But mostly high pressure parked on both sides of the country. That means light winds for many areas. As we go into Friday, the winds aren't too bad, but you do start to notice that northwest flow starting to develop. And the showers remain around Bay of Plenty. Not necessarily widespread, but the risk is there. It might be some morning drizzle, a few afternoon heavier showers as the sun comes out. And the winds start to just, like I say, pick up a little bit more. Now over here around Australia, you've got this low just south of Tasmania driving in a big windy sou'wester. It was interesting to note, a few people surprised at how Tasmania and the South Island share a very similar weather pattern. Basically, if you draw a line straight across, it comes in around the central part of the South Island. The west coast of Tasmania has very similar rainfall in their rainforest to around Hokitika on the west coast of New Zealand, and Hobart, the second driest capital in Australia. That might surprise you, but they have almost identical rainfall to Christchurch, around about 620 millimetres a year, which is why it is so dry. Adelaide is the driest capital. So that's a little bit of information for you. So the reason why they have a similar weather pattern to us, basically they're at the same latitude and they get the same weather systems. So we look at them quite a bit to see what we're going to get in New Zealand a couple of days later. So we've got the windy nor'wester developing, and as we go into Saturday, those winds really do pick up through the South Island's interior and up towards Wellington, Waited Upper, Cook Strait area. Those winds will pick up. Potentially getting into wind warning criteria, borderline for that, and the rain on the west coast also borderline for a rain warning. Mostly dry in the North Island, but it will start to warm up. You know, there'll be a slightly cooler couple of nights with that high pressure zone moving through. But once it goes away, Saturday, the temperatures lift up. You're back into the late 20s, maybe getting up to 30 degrees. So let's have a look at those temperatures going in towards Saturday. So Friday is a little cooler. Saturday, you start to see 27s, 26. We don't have Hamilton in there, but it does go up to around 28. By the way, we get a complaint from an adult all the time about place names. Just so you know, we don't do main centre weather forecasts here. I find them really boring to watch a video all about what you can see on our website in 2 seconds. So we just put these up as just sort of general indicators, and we're thankful to the weather company who are giving us these graphics. We're going to add a few more for the inland areas, but if your town is not there, we obviously can't put every town on it. Just look at the ones nearby. You should be able to work it out. But more importantly, that's why we built our 2 websites and our app. They've got more local weather forecast information than the 2 government forecasters that you tax fund combined. So please don't send us complaints that you can't see your town. It's just like when you go to Google Maps. You can't see every town when you first look at it. You zoom in, more and more appear. We can't control the place names on any of these maps, and so please stop complaining to us about it. Anyway, let's have a look at the forecast for Sunday. Here is that cold front moving up the country. So the one we talked about going over Tasmania takes a few days, but it reaches New Zealand into the weekend. So Sunday does see that wet weather lining up around Cook Strait. It's patchy. It's not necessarily widespread, but there might be a few heavier falls on the western side there. It is humid too. The overnight temperatures, as I said, they've dropped down a wee bit for the next couple of nights, and then they jump back up again as we go in towards the weekend. There might be places getting up to 30 degrees here. And again, if your name's not on the map, just look at the weather forecast that we put out in our 10-day forecast. It's hourly and 10-day, so you should be able to lock it in. But the big picture here kind of makes sense of your local forecast. That's why we make these videos. It's because sometimes you look at your forecast on our app or on our website and you think, okay, well, it says rain. What does that mean? Is it a whole day of rain, or is it just a little bit of drizzle? Hopefully this makes more sense of it. And places like Nelson and Marlborough, they're hopeful to get some wet weather. It is very dry in Marlborough now. Some people are saying it's the driest it's been so far this century. So that's a concern if you're a farmer or a grower over there. Now by Monday, the front comes into the north. It falls apart. It is very hit and miss as far as rainfall is concerned. The winds aren't too strong, not as strong as they were over in Australia, but we've still got that west to southwest flow. So it will be a little cooler behind the front, but still on the other side of it, pretty warm. Subtropical winds are still coming down. And by the time we get to Tuesday, kind of a messy setup, but this is what is good news actually if you need rain. You need a gap in the high pressure. So we've got high pressure parked out here closer to Aussie. The other one way out here south of the Cook Islands. That leaves this area kind of vulnerable. And that's what we're seeing is a small area of low pressure. Well, it's not that small. It covers the whole country, but it's not very deep is my point. And so you'll see some areas of wet weather, other dry areas, but there's sort of a clockwise formation in here, and that could see a few showers. And the other thing to note on this map, up here in the Coral Sea, that low is worth keeping an eye on. It may not turn into much, but some of the long-range data suggests that it does slide down the coastline and drift back out. Doesn't mean that it's heading to New Zealand. It doesn't mean it's going to be a tropical cyclone, but it is a little more interesting of the other lows that are up in the tropics at the moment. It's showing a little bit more in the way of life. And over here on Tuesday, a cooler change coming in to the southwestern corner of Australia. That will take a long time to get to us because the next high is way out over the Indian Ocean. So this will be the next one coming in for us. And by the way, if you're interested in what is going on around New Zealand as we head into March, our March Climate Watch update will be out next Friday, the 1st of March. So that will take a look at the next month ahead. And we are seeing still quite a dry pattern, but as we go into autumn, we do start to see more breaks in the high pressure zones, and that allows for some wet weather. So stay optimistic if you need rain. There are some chances on the way, but that's just the silver lining. We don't want to give you false hope. It is also looking quite dry. Drill down deeper on our websites, ruralweather.co.nz, weatherwatch.co.nz, or download our app. It is free to download, and it's got paid upgrades within it for alerting, and that will give you the most accurate rain forecast in the country. Is it perfect? Nope. Nothing's perfect. I can't fly to London in 1 hour. I'd love to, but it takes a day to get there. Likewise with rain forecasts. They're not perfect, but we've got the most accurate rain data in the world. So we're very proud of that. And, we don't charge for it. It's free. At the moment anyway. We'll see how long that lasts. It's been free for 15 years. We've got 2 government competitors though. And I hear that the government's telling NIWA to be more commercial. So rolls eyes. That is all from me. Have yourself a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.